Hello, I'm Ortrun Zuber-Skerritt. I wish to introduce my colleagues and friends who represent the ALARA Brisbane Group. They will reflect on their experiences of ALARA Congresses and Conferences. They are Pam Kruse, Judith Kearney, Passfield and Bob Dick. Enjoy.
So for me, I think one of the key things about a conference to make it a learning experience is having the flexibility in the design so that impromptu things could occur. And I was just thinking in the World Congress one when Reverend Trevens turned up and was a keynote speaker, but he'd been through Hong Kong on the way, and the head of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange had just been jailed for corruption. So he ran an impromptu session under a tree around integrity and honesty. And about 50 of us turned up, and a fantastic session, you know, and he then linked honesty to the theme of action learning and the action learning process, what it takes to be an honest man and what the process requires. So that was a key thing for me.
Yeah, I think that you can only have that flexibility if you've got relationships in place. And one of the things that I've noticed about ALARA events is the openness, people really listen, and you don't feel threatened in any way in terms of expressing your thoughts. That makes a real difference.
I think at ALARA events we really want to value everybody's differences and try and learn and understand like what their different backgrounds and experience and what their paradigms, you know, like what their belief systems are, what they unconsciously or subconsciously know, and then if we share ideas, then we can explore ways to solve problems.
Yeah.
I agree, and in some recent conferences I think we've been lucky to have a lot of diversity there, ranging from people who, for whom this is the first exposure to action research, and other people who've been doing it for decades. And I think that what helps a lot when you've got that diversity is there's something up front to start some community building. Give people a chance to make contact with each other, let the people from out of town to meet some of the locals, so that everybody has at least a couple of people that they've started to build a relationship with. For me, that's important.
I think that's really opens it up, and people, particularly introverts, kind of feel more comfortable if they can build some relationships to start off with. Also, you get to know people and where they're coming from. I was just thinking, again, this kind of having people who are really kind of the gurus and experts with people who are kind of finding their way. In the Fourth World Congress in Cartagena in Colombia, there were about 30 Cornell University PhD students who were all doing action research, but were trying to sort out, you know, how do they write it, how they build a relationship with their supervisor and so on. But they were able to kind of approach some of the organisers and say, look, we really need a session, and we're able to then organise it so that these people could then talk to a collection of people from around the world who are very experienced supervisors of action research. And so they got access to these people who they'd read about, or whose books they had read, but actually got to meet them face to face. And the agenda was their agenda. You know, how do you do whatever? And about 100 people turned up, totally impromptu. So you had that kind of the newbies and the experts. They're all focused on what the newbies actually needed.
Yeah. One of the things I've also noticed as well is the sense of hospitality at these events. You can go to some conferences and you don't feel that same sense of, you know, there's a lot of serious talk and a lot of listening, but not always the play element. I think that people at ALARA events know how to enjoy themselves, often with a glass of wine.
Yes.
And nice balance, as Ortrun would say. You need to have both work and play.
I agree. It also seems to me that it helps if there are at least the possibility of longer sessions, so that it isn't just a 20-minute talk delivered, but there's a chance to run some interesting processes, and there's time for discussion at the end. Where, and I think the thing that you mentioned about building that sense of community makes it easier for the novices to take part in the discussion with people who have more experience.
So at ALARA events in Brisbane, we've often had an informal dinner the night before the conference started, and invited people to come to one of our committee members' homes, and people have just loved it. You know, they've met people, they've had a chat, they've had dinner, and next day they roll up and they've already got 15 friends to meet. So that's always lovely.
Mm.